Hello, and welcome to this video on stakeholders in orthography development. Whether we're reading a book, on a cell phone, or with other reading materials, we're using an orthography, a writing system. But we need to recognize that developing an orthography is not only a technical matter, but it involves real people with real needs and real dreams.
As we'll see, either local community members or outsiders can start and run an orthography project. If you are watching this video, you are probably an outsider. But the same principles will apply to any local person leading a project as well. Many people are involved in and really committed to the development of an orthography. Some are the actual developers, and some are the people who will actually be using it. We will call all these people stakeholders. What kind of people are we talking about? Some of these people are intimately, very closely involved with the process, even on a day-to-day basis. The outside researcher, a local language speaker, community leaders, and the community at large. Then there are people and organizations who sometimes are occasionally involved and sometimes very closely involved. Local teachers, national or local governments, for example. In this video, we want to focus on community participation and the various people who can be involved. Local language speakers, community leaders, and the community at large.
Let's talk about why we involve the community in the first place. Why not just have one person sitting down and figuring it all out? Perhaps an outside linguist, perhaps a motivated local language speaker. If anyone can do it, why not just do it by yourself? It might be easier, it might be faster, and many orthographies in the past were created like this.
Well, just like building a house is easier when lots of people help, working with local speakers in a community can have some real advantages. For one thing, they can give us some ideas on how to write their language. They can often distinguish sounds that outsiders just can't hear well. And they can also generate lots of ideas. Not only things like which characters to use, but ideas about logistics and even how to promote the orthography. Not all of these ideas will be workable, of course, but they, the local speakers, may have some ideas that the outsider hasn't even considered. Furthermore, getting involved with the local community means that they will take ownership of the orthography. If they're involved, the responsibility is spread around, and the workload is lighter for everyone. But maybe the most important thing is acceptance of the orthography. If their community is involved from the very start, again, they will have a sense of ownership. So this writing system is not something imposed on them. It's not created by somebody who may not be even a mainstream member of the community. It is their achievement, and so it's much more likely to be accepted and actually used.
That sounds great, but I'm sure there are problems sometimes. Are there challenges to working like this?
There are some challenges, of course. It takes more time than just one person working by himself. Often different people have different opinions. Disagreements do happen, and all these need to be sorted out. It also takes time and effort, so you make sure that all parts of the community are represented, dialects and other sections of the community. Also, if your community is not interested, it can be like hitting a brick wall sometimes, just hard. The outside person needs to actually talk to people to generate interest in the first place, if there's none to start with. But it's worth spending the time. If the community does not like the orthography, if they do not accept it, then the orthography will fail. Literacy will fail. So let's look at a few types of people in the community in more detail.
Can you describe some specific types of community members?
Yes. First, let's talk about community leaders. These could be chiefs, elders, or others who might have a position of power, either a formal position or just a very respected local person. In many societies, the first people to come to mind would be men, but don't forget the women leaders. In our time in a village in northern Ghana, we found out that there were men's work leaders and women's work leaders. We didn't even know that there was an office of women's work leader when we started, but they were crucial.
So, how can such leaders help us in the task of orthography development?
First, they have an awareness of the needs of their language community, and usually they want what's best for the community. In many cases, leaders are responsible for the well-being of their community, and they take this responsibility quite seriously. Second, these leaders are the ones who can make things happen. They know their people, and whoever has the skills and character to be helpful on a language committee, for example. In some cases, they might even be able to help financially with the project, although you shouldn't count on that. Also, local leaders can be influential in adopting the orthography or in promoting the orthography itself when it is completed. In some situations, they may actually be the ones to approve or disapprove of the entire project. So if you ignore them, you are not only neglecting a potential source of help, but some leaders may actually end up opposing the work because they were not asked to be involved.
I'm sure that many of these leaders are really busy and may not always be available. Besides that, are there other issues with local leaders that you haven't mentioned so far?
You're right. Many times local leaders are very busy, so they may not be able to devote much time to a project. Some of them may even travel a lot. One way many of them deal with this is that they choose someone to represent them, and that may be the main person you deal with. And there are other advantages with working with or coordinating with local leaders. For one thing, they may start out not being fully convinced about the benefits of literacy in general if their society has not historically had literacy as part of their lifestyle and traditions. Because of this, it's important to spend some time with them to lay out the ideas and ask for whatever help they may be able to give. Sometimes local leaders may have some different ideas about what kind of orthography might work for a community. Sometimes it's based on linguistic knowledge, and sometimes it is not based on linguistic knowledge. So there's a challenge to arrive at a compromise or decision. But interacting with local leaders is time well spent. Now let's talk about the so-called ordinary language speaker, the local language speaker who is not in a position of official leadership, but still can be a tremendous help. Sometimes these can be educated speakers, sometimes just a typical speaker who wants to help out. Often these would be helping in a language committee, and we'll have another video coming up later on decision-making in language committees. The people we're talking about here are people who will provide the main ideas and help in establishing the orthography.
So, what does this ordinary language speaker bring to the task of orthography development?
Mainly and most obviously, they bring their native speaker insight into the language being studied. They may know linguistic terms or they may not, but they can tell one sound from another, sometimes when an outsider can't. They also bring an insider's perspective about the community. What other stakeholders should be involved, for example. Perhaps when speakers of a different dialect need to be brought in, or maybe another community member that the outsider hasn't even thought about. These other individuals might affect how the orthography is accepted. Occasionally, if local speakers have the right background, they can contribute some linguistic or educational knowledge. Generally, local speakers are highly motivated for this project, and they're aware of the value of developing the orthography, and they can spread that enthusiasm to others.
The stakeholders we talked about today are local language speakers, community leaders, and the community at large. In our next video, we'll talk about other stakeholders, the outside linguist, local teachers, and government officials. All of these stakeholders bring their unique benefits to the project of orthography development. There are also challenges when working with each of these groups, and we need to recognize this. But it is necessary for all of these people to work together in order to create a successful orthography.